A beautiful night in Altamaha, North Carolina is the scene for the second time here in 2023 as we get set for round number 10 of the 2023 Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour Late Model Stock Season. Good evening, everyone. I'm Blake McCandless along with Eric Brennan, and we'll have James Pike running around down on the pit road. And Eric, what a marvelous setting. What a great night. We have so many fans who have made their way out to Altamaha, North Carolina tonight to see, again, what I think is the most competitive motorsports series in America, the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour.
And I'll echo that statement tenfold because qualifying certainly proved that theory with how tight the field was when it came time to run through and for the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award. Everybody was on their A-game when it came down to time and to set the lineup for this race here tonight, and for good reason. We've touched on this several times, but 6 out of 7 times a driver inside the top 5 has gone to victory lane. But Blake, second verse, same as the first. Second time we're here at Ace this season, second time this driver laid down a flyer.
Well, remember the last time he won in the Cars Tour, it was right here at Ace Speedway. So looking to build some momentum, but you can see exactly how he was able to do it. That Junior Motorsports number 8 car driving so well. Actually just broke a streak, did Carson Quapple back at Hickory. It was the first race in 12 races that he had not led a lap, which is an incredible thing to think about. And you have to think, as the winner of the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award tonight, he probably starts a new streak here tonight. But you could see him come down to the start-finish line. And again, a great time set by Carson Quapple to take that pole award and will lead the field to green on a 15.418 second lap.
And we talked about how tight the field was. The top 12 of our 25-car field were separated by less than a tenth of a second. And how about this for a storyline that we're going to be keeping tabs on? Carson Quapple, current points leader, 3-time winner, now 4-time pole winner on the season, 18 points to the good in the championship point lead as the series swings into the latter portion of its calendar campaign for 2023. The driver chasing him in the championship standings, Brendan Butter being queen, qualified second by 14 thousandths of a second. Our top 2 in the championship are going to be the top 2 in this race when we come down for the green flag about a little less than 15 minutes from now. And that's just 2 of the major 25 different storylines we could pull from this very populated, tight, competitive field at a very tough racetrack.
It's tight and competitive, and why don't we go ahead and lay out the starting grid for tonight's AcceleratedGFX.com 125 from Ace Speedway. Tonight we will go from back to front with the number 4 represented on row number 13. You can see that wonderful throwback that won the best appearing car at Hickory Motor Speedway, driven by this driver out of Wilkesboro, North Carolina. The Two Burrows Brewery Chevrolet is driven by Dylan Wilson.
Starting in the 24th starting position, still with shades of his throwback paint scheme from Hickory last time out, honoring his grandfather. Driving for Bolin Family Racing out of Sharon, South Carolina, car number 67, Cameron Bolin.
Starting in 23rd tonight, driving the number 15 for R&S Race Cars in the Hogan Group and WG Speaks Ford from Mechanicsville, Virginia, Logan Clark.
Starting in the 22nd position for Mike Darn Racing in the ABC Hosiery and Apparel and Gildan number 1 out of Youngsville, North Carolina, touring 12 driver Andrew Grady.
Rolling off 21st in the number 87 Jeffco Motorsports Ford from Durham, North Carolina, it is Tate Fogelman.
Starting on the outside of row number 10 in 20th position out of Ashland, Ohio, making a return to the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, this time for Liam McCall, former winner here at Ace Speedway, driving the Solid Rock Carriers number 91. Welcome back, Jonathan Schaefer.
The inside of row 10, you'll see the driver of the number 81 Convenience Tire and Auto and Mini T's Tire and Auto Chevrolet out of Manassas, Virginia, Minnie Tyrell.
Outside of row number 9, this driver was in a ball of flame in the spring. Last time they were out here at Ace Speedway. Looking for a much better result tonight, driving the Hefter's Towing and Recovery number 95 for Carroll Speed Shop out of Dallas, North Carolina, Jacob Hefner.
Starting in 17th tonight, piloting the 04 East Coast Wings and Grill Jerry Hunt Supercenter Chevrolet from Lexington, North Carolina, Ronnie Bassett Jr.
Third in the championship point standings and starting 16th here tonight. Driving the Town Bank and Breeden Concrete number 77 winner at one of his home tracks, Langley Speedway out of Hampton, Virginia, Connor Hall.
Starting in 15th tonight, driving the number 5 Gear Wrench Toyota out of Mooresville, North Carolina, the 15-year-old Brent Cruz.
Starting in the 14th position tonight, Hedgecock Racing Pole Award winner in 2023. Also still has some of the colors left over, honoring team member Rusty Skews from the throwback at Hickory. Driving for Top Gun Motorsports out of Mechanicsville, Virginia. Driving car number 8B, Chase Burrow.
And starting to his inside in 13th, a former champion of the Rodney Cook Classic, as well as a track champion here at Ace Speedway. And the Stallings Classic Cars Ford out of Danville, Virginia, Blake Stallings.
Starting in the 12th position tonight in the DeWalt Performance and Jerry Hunt Supercenter family-owned number 7, making his third start of 2023 and 5th here at Ace Speedway for the Cars Tour. Out of Walkertown, North Carolina, Dylan Ward.
Rolling off 11th tonight, a winner last season here at Ace Speedway in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, piloting the Butler-built seats Ford for Mike Darn Racing out of Aledo, Texas. The number 10 is Caden Honeycutt.
Into the top 10 we go, and the driver rounding out our top 10 after Hedgecock Racing Pole Award qualifying in the Aaron Sales and Lease number 16 from Macomb Elliott Racing. 4th in the championship standings out of Supply, North Carolina, Chad McCumbee.
Starting 9th on the number 57 Chevrolet Late Apex Storage Condo Chevy out of Concord, North Carolina. This is Connor Zillish.
Starting in the 8th position, making his third start of the season and 8th here at Ace Speedway. Driving the Trevor Ward Motorsports, number 77W out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Trevor Ward.
Starting in 7th tonight, a 3-time Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour late model stock champion, driving the Solid Rock Carriers, WG Speaks, Pepperjack Kennels, and Caswell Glad's Ford out of Madison, North Carolina for RNS Race Cars, the number 6 of Bobby McCarty.
Starting in the 6th position out of Oak Ridge, North Carolina, in the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson, Grand Atlantic Ocean Resort, and Mincy's number 2. Fresh off a top 10 run here in the spring, and rounding out the top 10 in championship points, starting 6, car 2, Brandon Pierce.
For your top 5, going 5th tonight in the number 24 Solid Rock Carriers machine out of Manassas, Virginia for Chad Bryant Racing, your defending winner at Hickory Motor Speedway, Mason Diaz.
Outside of row number 2, out of Statesville, North Carolina, in the Leisure Time Rentals and Carolina Specialty Products entry. His Lone Cars Tour win came here a couple of years ago, and he's finished in the top 5 every time he's competed here at Ace. Out of Statesville, North Carolina, car 15, Ryan Millington.
The inside of row 2, making his best start since his pole at Hickory in 2016. Driving the number 22 AutosByNelson.com Chevrolet out of Claremont, North Carolina, Landon Huffman.
Up to the front row we go, and the driver coming into the night second in championship standings. Drove up to a 4th place finish in what was his one and only prior visit to the Ace Speedway last May. Driving the Best Repair Company, Lee Pulliam Performance 03 out of Chesapeake, Virginia, Brendan Butterbean Queen.
And starting on the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award tonight with a lap time of 15.418 seconds around a Speedway, driving the number 8 Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports out of Mooresville, North Carolina, Carson Quapple.
A stacked field with storylines aplenty, getting set to do battle for 125 laps as part of the accelerated GFX.com 240 here at Ace Speedway, a track that is physical, demanding, and we'll be talking about many storylines all night long. So let's not wait anymore. Let's go down trackside to James Pike to help us get the command.
Race fans, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome the son of the driver of the number 16 Arians Ford from McCumbee Elliott Racing, Chad McCumbee. It's Kenan McCumbee to give us those 4 most famous words.
Drivers, start your engines!
What a special moment there that young man will soon not forget, as he has fired up the engines here at Ace Speedway to get us rolling for 125 laps around this racetrack. And Eric, when we talk about storylines, we talk about the drivers coming in. Some drivers carrying some big momentum into this race. Just look at the top 5, top 7 or so. So many different storylines. You have Carson Quapple, hasn't gone to victory lane since his visit at Ace Speedway earlier in the spring. Brendan Butterbean Queen, who was able to make up just 1 point, only 1 point at Hickory Motor Speedway after driving through the field on a tire-saving strategy. And how about Landon Huffman? This coming full circle for a driver who took over the number 22 car when we visited Ace last time. He has talked several times with me about how much progress this team has made since that date, and I think it shows right here in the fact that he's starting third and with the opportunity to have a great finish, if not even win tonight.
And let's keep that roll going. How about the driver starting in 4th? We mentioned his only other Cars Tour late model stock win came right here, a racetrack in which he has a track championship at, but he hasn't finished in the top 10 in 4 races. Could tonight be the night that Ryan Millington stops the bleeding and gets back to the performance that he and that team displayed at the beginning portion of the year? There's so much more to cover, and for more, let's go down trackside to James Pike for a quick pre-race report.
There are a lot of drivers that have an opportunity to go to victory at Ace Speedway tonight, but let's not forget the driver who won this race 1 year ago, Jonathan Schaefer, with a new team this evening with Hawk McCall Motorsports. I went and talked to him earlier in the day, and I asked him, has it been a difficult adjustment, just trying to get your feet with that team? And he said, no, outside of the fact that we run a different chassis, I'm okay with it. I think the big thing for me today is the experience that I gained last year winning this race, knowing what I need to do in the race car and the slight mental advantages I have. And he emphasized more than anything else, this is a place where you have to go and you cannot wait. And given how deep in the field he's starting, he told me, if I qualify towards the back, I'm going from the drop of the green flag and I'm trying to get to the front. You have no time to waste here at Ace Speedway. That's what I've learned more than anything else from my experience racing here.
That's a great point, and he mentioned Jonathan Schaefer starting back in the 20th spot. Never has a driver come from outside the top 10 to win this race. And unfortunately, as we're talking about the number 91 car on the parade and pace laps, we are seeing that car and driver out of our vantage point here, just there at the left-hand side of the picture, come to the attention of his pit crew.
And it was so good to see Jonathan Schaefer back out of the racetrack. Of course, hasn't made a start this season in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. And again, for him to return at a track that he has had success, he went to victory lane for the first time here. You never forget where you win your first race. You can see some sturdy work going on right now in that number 91 car. The field is doubled up, and we might be getting the one-to-go signal, so they may have to hurry up to try to get that number 91 car back out.
Good news for the number 91
Lights are not off.
is we did not see the one to go that time through, which gives us an opportunity, I think, to expand one of the storyline conversations back to the last car in the top 5, the number 24 of Mason Diaz.
Yes.
As we mentioned, the relationship with Chad Bryant Racing after he elected to make a change coming into 2023, we didn't think it was going to take that long for them to go to victory lane. It finally happened at Hickory, and Mason has been very adamant. Qualifying has been the problem. He timed in 5th. That means look out for that 24 as we're a lap away from the green flag.
I mean, you can make an argument for Mason Diaz that he has had one of, if not the fastest car over the course of the last 3 races. Drove up through the field twice, finished 7th at Dominion. Caraway finished 2nd after starting in 20th. If he starts 5th tonight, could we see a first-time winner become a 2-time winner in the Cars Tour? We will have to see as GXS wraps. Pace car will pull down to the safety of the pit lane. Into the KRC Power Steering start zone comes Carson Quapple, and we are green flag here in the accelerated GFX.com 125. Already a battle up front, and Queen gets it done on the high side as Trevor Ward gets shoved up the hill. They're 3 wide right around Mason Diaz. Here comes Bobby McCarty down on the bottom. 1 lap in, and they are already getting after it here at Ace.
What lap is it? Landon Huffman was drifting sideways on the apron of the racetrack. Contact all over the place. Everybody keeps it pointed in the right direction. Bobby McCarty looking to try to find some clean running room on the bottom in that number 6 car, trying to get up to the top 5 while Mason Diaz is trapped up top.
Yeah, and you can see there's definitely some damage on the side of that 22 car. You'll see it right here as our camera pans, and yep, you can see the door is caved in from Landon Huffman, so some definite contact there between those two as Huffman now falls back into the 6th, perhaps 7th position, and Mason Diaz doing some incredible work there on the top side.
Trying to get the spot away from that of Brandon Pierce. Up front, Brendan Butterbean Queen, the leader. Over that of Carson Quapple and Ryan Millington. These 3 cars have been able to break free of the chaos that continues to ensue behind them, but perhaps a statement in this battle, not only for the race win, but the championship, as Butterbean is out in front of Quapple for the moment.
Well, you have to think in terms of this championship, how many points are available for Queen to make up in 7 races if he were to chase down that number 8 car? 33 points he would get right now for winning the race. He's obviously got 34 by leading a lap as Bobby McCarty slots his way past Brandon Pierce, who's on his way backwards. But in terms of this championship, he came all the way back through the field. He made up 1 point on Carson Quapple. He is going to have to be nearly lights out perfect without a mistake from this number 8 team to have a shot at this title by the time Caraway rolls around in November.
Connor Zilish gives a bump to the backside of the 2 car. Brandon Pierce, as he continues to fall down the running order from his qualifying spot. Zilish in the 57 trapped up to the outside. How about that pink and white number 77? That is newcomer Blake Stallings' first start of the season, 19th in his Cars Tour career. He's starting to work his way further forward as Pierce is now trapped up on the outside. And with all this hard racing going on, Blake, I'm afraid we may see drivers start to use their brakes more than they would hope for, as we are seeing
Brandon
very
Pierce
aggressive driving early.
Yeah, Brandon Pierce has some damage, and he is very slow from where he started. Again, had his best start of the season, but definitely something amiss on that number 2 car. Still kind of has remnants of that throwback that he ran for Shane Huffman a week ago. And oh yes, that 2 is getting shoved up out of the groove by Brent Cruz. And there is a problem, a major problem there for the Lead Podium Performance number 2 car.
Brent Cruz in that 5C outside of Cameron Bowen in the 67. It was just announced a couple of days ago that Brent Cruz will be making his ARCA Menard Series debut for Venerini Motorsports, running at Watkins Glen and the Illinois Dirt Track. For the driver making his 2nd consecutive late model stock start, as we tighten up the battle for the lead here with Millington starting to close from 3rd.
Weren't you just making a point about brakes, Eric? Well, if you look that time into 3, and we'll probably get a good shot of it right here, Carson Quapple, the brake rotors on that left front, and yep, you can see it on the right front too, already glowing here, not even 15 laps into this race. Is that not a good, I don't think that's the sign you want if you're that number 18.
A lot of the tracks at the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour visits, as we see a battle on the right-hand side of your picture between that of Landon Huffman, almost got squeezed up into the wall, with Dylan Ward and Bobby McCarty getting by. Chad McCumbee fills the void. I was listening to an interview with that of Caden Honeycutt on the Stick It Up podcast, and he said, not only do you have to maintain tires when you come to Ace Speedway, but the brakes could be as abrasive as what you would see at Martinsville. It is that tight of a radius of a 0.4 of a mile oval here, and some of these drivers are already glowing red hot, not just underneath the helmets either.
Early on, we are already seeing that at Ace Speedway, doesn't it? It seems to sometimes work that way when we visit and do things Altamaha style, but you can see the brake rotor still glowing brightly for Carson Quapple off of turn 4, trying to chase down Brendan Queen, who from the outside line led from the word go. And now Millington, who I think has one of the best race cars at this racetrack, hasn't necessarily had the performance that he's wanted the last several goes of it or so. Finished second at Ace, finished second at North Wilkesboro. But that number 15 car, watching it in practice, I'm telling you, was as comfortable and as smooth as any car out here. Millington knows how to get around this place, so no shocker to see that 15 up front and perhaps contending for a win. Right now, solace finally found, if only for a moment, for Landon Huffman after his start in third. He's fallen back to 8th so far. And now Connor Zilish, the young gun, trying to get around the seasoned veteran here at Ace Speedway in Trevor Ward.
For those of you watching at home, if you see a lot of 77s in this race, there are 3 as a matter of fact. Trevor Ward outside, black and white 77, scored as a 77W. Behind him, the pink and white number 77S of Blake Stallings. And, of course, Connor Hall is a little bit further behind that battle. Speaking of cars that may be coming to life, how about former winner here, Caden Honeycutt, in that white Mike Darn Racing number 10, starting to make some noise in the bottom portion of the top 10. Just got around Landon Huffman, sets his sights on Dylan Ward.
Yeah, unfortunately, Huffman just didn't get a great start, and I think some of that damage starting to hurt that number 22 a little bit. A lot of brake rotors that we're seeing already early on for these race cars in this race. And I think one thing goes back to when you talk about saving equipment, the fact that these guys practice a lot, right? They had the day before, they had the day of. I think there were 4 total practice sessions for this race, and then you have qualifying. There are only about 10 cars that even made a lap in the final practice today. I think that's a case that you wanted to try and save a little bit. As you can see, Bobby McCarty, somebody who knows how to get around Ace Speedway oh so well, chasing down and passing Mason Diaz for that 4th position.
And that's a great point, Blake. And I remember talking to Jacob Hefner here in the spring, and he says even after the day of testing or the day-long practice day that many of the drivers do to be able to access the facility before the official practice day, they'll have to do brake rotor changes even after a full day of turning laps here. That's how harsh this track could be and how hard they're getting on the binders. As you see Caden Honeycutt's left front there glowing on the straightaway, while Dylan Ward has got some brake glow on the right rear of that car. Make that left rear as well. So these drivers are pushing quite hard here. Just 25 laps in, and already Brandon Pierce, what a heartbreaker of a night, finished 10th here last time out, and he goes a lap down early with a laboring race car.
Well, and speaking of that, when I was watching practice a little bit earlier, final practice, and the practice before that, Ryan Millington ran about 2 or 3 competitive laps. He got out of his race car. He went and walked down to the middle of 3 and 4 in the infield and was just watching cars, clicking on. You know what car he was watching more than any? It was the car that was in front right now, the 03 of Brendan Queen. And especially with Millington, he knows how to get around this racetrack so well. You can probably learn more in turns 3 and 4 at Ace Speedway about how a car is going to perform than anything. As again, we see the challenge for the race lead on the left-hand side of your screen. Queen still your race leader. Millington trying to chase down your top 2. And there is a long line of cars behind Huffman as Zilish gets turned off the nose of Ward. Caution is out. And does anybody else get collected? I don't believe so. Brent Cruz nearly brushed the outside wall as they try to get by the 57 car. And you can see even the brake rotor is red while he stopped here in turn 2.
That incident took place over the course of the last 2 or 3 laps.
He's got heavy right front damage, too.
Dylan Ward was in that battle. They were all kind of knotted together. Landon Huffman bounced off the 7 initially, and then Connor Zilish got in there, made some contact to the left rear of the 7 car of Dylan Ward, and once the pass was made, not sure if it was a retaliatory nudge that he took from behind of his 57, but nevertheless, it was Zilish who went for the slide, and he caught the inside retaining wall with the front nose.
Oh, that's Connor Hall, too. Big damage for Connor Hall as well, and it has not been a couple of races to write home about for Connor Hall, who was right in the midst of this championship fight. This is certainly not going to help it. We'll take one more look at it. You could see the 2 Wards just behind Connor Zilish, and I think Zilish is a little bit loose, kind of chasing that race car right there. And Connor Hall, you can see he gets a piece of it afterward, trying to miss these two. So Zilish enters low, maybe caught a bit of the apron, and I mean, Ward is just barely on the inside of his left rear. Just enough contact to turn him around. And there you can see the heavy damage from Connor Hall after that.
Odds are the 77 of Connor Hall got into the back of the 77W of Trevor Ward. The big problem for Zilish is that flow of boiling water coming out of the overflow on driver's right below the windshield. Already they have started to overheat that race car with the center punch damage. But there was contact between Zilish and Dylan Ward the lap prior that may have incentivized the 7 to get in there a little bit harder. James Pike is down trackside. We'll get an update on Connor Zilish.
You can see so much of the action here in the Connor Zilish pit. They were standing there just above the front spreader trying to knock that down and get that flattened out. They pulled in some of the fans from the pits to try and get this engine cooled down. You noted the overflow coming out the corner of the hood. So overheating issues for Zilish, which probably aren't going to get easier, especially with that blocked access to the radiator, the way that's all crumpled up in front. Going to be very, very paramount to make sure that this engine can help if they're going to send him back out onto the racetrack.
Thank you very much, James. And you can see right there panning just in front of Connor Zilish. We mentioned the issues that Brandon Pierce was having off the drop of the green flag. And they are going to go ahead and give some attention to that race car as well. Again, got a little bit of damage, I would say, and just quickly fell through the field. Did Brandon Pierce. He fell all the way to the back behind his good friend and buddy and Dylan Wilson. And unfortunate for him, after what was such a great start, would have been his best qualifying effort of the season, aside from his fourth-place start at Ace earlier on in the year. So they have this place figured out in qualifying. And, you know, he's been quite candid about when you have the opportunity and you have that position, you know that you execute in qualifying, there's almost more pressure because you know that's your opportunity to try and win these races, because it is so hard to try and make your way through the field.
Yeah, and one driver that we thought we would see up at the front of the pack early in the going on pit road with a problem, Connor Hall. Pike, what's going on?
Same sort of issue with Connor Hall that we saw with Connor Zilish just a moment ago. They've got a bar in here trying to open up that vent to get some air to this engine. I talked to Connor earlier. He said that he didn't necessarily think that this was his kind of track, but he had been proud of the improvements that this team had made in the last few races here at Ace, but seems like he's going to struggle for a good finish tonight with this much damage already early in the going. They're just now putting the grill back over that opening. Looks like they're going to try and send him back out and make sure once they get this tape on the hood that Hall can roll and get back out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, you can see the grill cover right there bent all up, and they'll try to do some work on it. And again, running out of time to fix it. I believe we'll get the one to go this next time by, as they're already doubled up. I believe they came across the choose line here at Ace Speedway. Not necessarily a cone, but it is a bright orange line that is just past the flag stand here at Ace Speedway. And indeed, we will get the one to go signal. Hall still down in the pit lane. Brandon Pierce, they still have the hood up on that race car. We'll see if they can get out. Hall's now going to get rolling. So a lot happening early on here in Altamaha, North Carolina. These fans getting treated to a lot. But up front, Brendan Queen, Carson Quapple, your two top championship contenders, working their way into the KRC Power Steering restart zone. And we'll get back underway here in Altamaha. Another lap led there for Brendan Queen. The battle now is for second between Ryan Millington, Carson Quapple, and I tell you what, Bobby McCarty has a car that he can do something with here as they nearly make contact behind him. As a little brush up there from Mason Diaz, perhaps, off the back of Bobby McCarty.
Millington, former track champion here at Ace, underneath that of the most recent winner, while Bobby McCarty in the number 6 waits in the wings. You talk about the benefit of experience coming into tonight. Nobody had turned more laps than Bobby McCarty at Ace Speedway in Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour late model stock competition. He's adding to that total and working his way to the front as Millington has cemented second spot and sets his sights on Butterbean.
That he does. He gets by Carson Quapple, and we'll see if he can drive forward. We'll see if Carson Quapple can keep from going back, and again would lose a spot in the points every trip back that he loses to Brendan Queen, although Millington right now, that car just cutting so well through the center of the corner. May not be too much longer before he's battling for the lead further on back. You can see Ronnie Bassett Jr. and Blake Stallings going at it, but so far, single file top 5. Looks like a chain race almost here at Ace Speedway with how they are all lined up.
They continue to stay all pretty much knotted together, as not sure if Butterbean is trying to just set the pace at the front of the pack or if the rest of the field is just hounding the backside of the Lee Pulliam Performance 03 as the top 5 are in a Congo line. Mason Diaz back up to where he started, almost brushes the concrete as he came off turn 2 that time.
And again, Mason Diaz probably hotter than any team, any car coming into this race. Drove through the field at Dominion, finished second at Caraway, despite starting in 20th in that race. Hickory Motor Speedway, we know he goes out, he leads 57 laps. He has a great battle with Cade Brown as Millington had a little bit of a slide there off the corner. But this is really a coming-to party for Mason Diaz, finally putting all the pieces together. Came to Chad Bryant Racing to put that 24 in victory lane, and well, he didn't do that because he had the Kirk Leon throwback, the number 52, last weekend. But could he do it on a Friday night here at Ace Speedway? We will have to see. But there is not a whole lot separating your top 5 as Diaz looking for a way around the number 6 of McCarty.
One thing we're seeing a lot of drivers do, you see Bobby McCarty, one of the most aggressive at doing that in the 6 car, 4th in line, is using that apron in turns 3 and 4 to help hook the car to the bottom, allow it to unroll and make the corner a little bit faster. But as time goes on, the handling characteristics of these vehicles may change, and we will see that all throughout the field. Jacob Hefner trying to make up some ground in the 95, and just behind them, the number 04, Ronnie Bassett Jr., got some new help on that car and that team, fresh off the top 10 at Hickory. Veteran crew chief Shane Wilson helping this team out here tonight at Ace. Spotter Charlie Brown also calling the shots for him there as Bassett tries to work his way further forward.
Again, his brother Dylan, a limited late model champion here at Ace Speedway. So not too far from home for that Bassett Racing operation. As you can see, Jacob Hefner, a little bit of damage that he has on the nose of his 95, or the hood's popped up just a little bit as he tries to get by another fellow touring 12 driver in Chase Burrows. He runs 12th. He's looking for 11th off of turn 2. Is he going to have a nose down to the bottom as he may make almost some contact there, the left rear quarter panel of Chase Burrow?
And think about what happened to both of these drivers here in the spring. The 8 car ended up on his lid late in the going. The 95 had a line come loose right here late in the race and ended up in a ball of flame in turn 3, kept it out of the wall. Both drivers looking for a reversal of fortune here tonight. They're side by side for position. And on the left side of your picture, we're nose to tail for the race lead.
And again, Jacob Hefner, somebody that knows how to race his way forward. I think kind of like what Mason Diaz has had. It's qualifying that's been something that's held this team back a little bit as they're nearly 3 wide off of turn 4. Bassett thought better of it, backs out. Meanwhile, up front, you still have a great battle for the race lead going on with Brendan Queen, Ryan Millington. As Queen slips up off the corner, Millington may look to pounce. 80 laps to go. Millington to the bottom in turn 1.
Butterbean's off the bottom of the racetrack. Gets a good drive off, too. He's going to slam the door shut at the end of the back straightaway. Everybody checks up behind. Quapple now to the inside of Millington for second, but Millington defends the runner-up position on the home stretch.
Quapple has to go to the apron. It checks him up with the run. Now McCarty and Quapple, perhaps a little brush there between the 8 and the 6. Remember the finish that 3 of these 4 had at Dominion, probably one of the best finishes we've seen in a late model stock race, perhaps ever, in this Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. And 4, now call them 5 of the best, doing it here up front is Brendan Queen, still trying to defend the top spot over Millington and a bunch of hungry hounds behind him.
The ability of Butterbean to be able to fend off that challenge from Ryan Millington, which kind of checked up Millington enough to allow Quapple to think about getting back up to second, seemed to give Brendan Queen the breathing room that he was looking for. Single file throughout the top 5. Chad McCumbee, the blue car, on the tail end of your picture, starting to close up. And here comes Jacob Hefner to the top 10 inside of Dylan Ward in the 7, right-hand side of your screen.
And again, we would be, call it about 20 laps or so away from a competition caution should we continue to go green. So plenty of time for these drivers to try and make up some positions. You can see Hefner into the top 10, as you mentioned. Ward is on the way backwards once again as the 0-4 of Bassett Jr. will go down to the inside after they had made their way by Chase Burrow a little bit earlier on. Also have to mention, we were talking about kind of going backwards. How about Landon Huffman? He is kind of settled in 8th after that rough start. Caden Honeycutt has moved his way up into 7th. So although we've seen some great racing here, is a little bit of contact there. Chase Burrow and Andrew Grady on the right-hand side of your screen. We still have a number of players who are starting to kind of work their way up to this top 5.
And we're all seeing a lot of cars that have different circumstances in terms of brake heat. It appears as though there were several cars that appear to be pressing hard, like McCarty looking to the inside of Quapple. But there's also many others that may be biding their time as Millington doesn't get off of 4. Here comes Quapple to the bottom side for second in turn 1.
Yeah, Millington got awfully loose there off of turn number 4 and allows that run for Quapple to go down to the bottom. And now if you're Millington, how hard do you defend and how hard do you go? Because you know that McCarty's behind, and with the preferred groove being down here on the bottom at Ace Speedway, it's going to be tough to get off that top lane. But if there's anybody that knows how to do it and make that job very hard for Carson Quapple, it'll be somebody like Millington who knows this place just about as well as anybody.
Brendan Queen has got to be looking up in the rearview mirror and loving what he is seeing as this side-by-side battle for second continues between our current point leader and defending champion Carson Quapple inside a former race winner here, Ryan Millington. They touch off the 4th corner, and here comes McCarty looking for 3rd.
Was just about to say, the clean racing between those two and two very level-headed drivers, and the 8 of Carson Quapple and the 15 of Ryan Millington. See a little bit of a brush there, but that's just short track racing as McCarty now up to 3rd. And now once again, almost a repeated Dominion. You have Queen, you have Quapple, you have McCarty, and now Millington having to hang on with Mason Diaz trying to make his way by in his Chad Bryant Racing Ford.
We talked about the performance of Mason Diaz and how he and that team are heating up. The same could be said for the RNS Race Cars number 6 of Bobby McCarty. Hard to believe the only 2 laps he's led this season were the last 2 at Dominion in that thrilling finish you referenced earlier, Blake. But he has been collecting top 5 after top 5 as Diaz bounces off of Millington at the end of the backstretch.
And now Millington going to try to cross over. Is he down to the inside of Mason Diaz? Indeed he is, but we have to kind of split the action here. They're battling for 4th. Meanwhile, Carson Quapple is all over the back bumper of Brendan Queen for the race lead. And oh, by the way, Bobby McCarty is there as well. Some great racing here at Ace Speedway. McCarty almost looked low for 2nd.
The fans who have come out to Ace Speedway tonight, and those of you watching along at home, already getting your money's worth as the battles have been fierce and heavy all night long. Fight for the lead. A 3-car tango on the left-hand side of your screen. Millington now losing a spot to McCumbee, who makes the pass for 5th. And it's Millington who is falling down the running order. Caden Honeycutt just behind in the 10.
And there's a big stack up. Almost getting into 1 and 2, kind of the opposite end of the racetrack. When we talked about lap traffic, probably not going to reach it by the time if we go another 10 laps or so under the green flag. But we will have to wait and see should that come to fruition. It'll be 10 to the comp yellow this time when we take the stripe, as Brendan Queen will come across the stripe, and he will be your iRacing halfway lap leader. As we have seen a number of times, there has been one driver who has led every lap at Ace Speedway and gone on to win 3 times in our 7 races here. And one of those, there was a driver that led 1 lap and somebody else led 124. But can Queen hold on? I'm not sure if he can right now. Quapple looks a little bit better at the moment.
And the competition caution waiting in the wings after 40 consecutive green flag laps. And we will not see that in the final 25. So this will be the one and only chance that we see that comp yellow fly. As now McCarty wants a shot at Quapple in the battle for 2nd as they go to 1. Can't get a fender inside.
Yeah, big slide by that 8 car. And by the way, that was Lane Riggs who led 124 laps in a win here at Ace Speedway. He's representing us well, I'm sure, at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, as well as a number of Cars Tour competitors over the years. William Sawalich, Corey Heim, Connor Jones, going to be up there competing in the Craftsman Truck Series. So doing us well, at least let's hope, with 59 laps to go. And they're catching the tail end. That's Dylan Wilson, who's a little bit up the road. And as well as Logan Clark, are they going to be able to chase those guys down? And how hard do they kind of push it here with how important track position is here at Ace?
And we've seen the outside lane be able to work quite well. So how badly does McCarty want to make this pass on Quapple in order for him to be the second option when they hit the choose for the ensuing restart if we get to the competition yellow? So right now, McCarty and Quapple, 6 and 8 respectively, continuing to battle. And they are going to catch Dylan Wilson as they come off turn 4 with Queen still leading. Then there's the caution. We are looking for confirmation to see if our math has worked out as far as this being the competition caution. Well, while we try to verify that, we are going to throw it down trackside to James Pike, who is standing by with Connor Hall.
I do have the driver, the number 77 here. Connor, when I saw your team come down pit road, I saw them looking at the distributor. Was it something electrical that broke on the car that put you out of the race?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, obviously we took the front end damage when the 7 and the 57 were racing like it was the last lap, but the crazy thing is that was even, we were actually still only running 210 degrees, and we went back out, and I think the distributor just like timing, and like the motor was running like it would, like it only had half the cylinders activated, so it got to the point where it wouldn't even, remain running, and obviously at that point we're already a couple laps down, so I just said, let's just put it in the box and go home.
Connor Hall going to take a huge hit in the championship this evening after falling out of the race early.
And it has been a tough stretch as of late for that driver, the number 77, after what was such an amazing start to the season. Ran 4th at Southern National, 2nd at Hickory, ran 3rd here back in the spring at Ace Speedway, 4th at North Wilkesboro, and of course went to where he has been so dominant all year long at Langley. Ended up winning in his own car. But unfortunately, it has just been tough luck. Caraway, a 13th after the tires went away from him late in that race. 18th after contact with Landon Huffman at Hickory. And it has been a rough go there for the 77 of Connor Hall. The rest of the field, aside from Brandon Pierce, has completed all 68 laps thus far. Well, we will step aside for a moment here from Altamaha. You're watching the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour on Flow Racing. You'd see the results of the choose as they work down the back straightaway. Second caution flag of the evening here at Ace Speedway, which indeed was the competition caution. It will be the last scheduled competition caution of the night, as we will be inside the window where we will no longer throw it if we go another 40 laps green. But you can see Brendan Queen on the inside, Carson Quapple on the outside. And honestly, Erica, I know this is Ace. I know Queen is strong. Quapple is strong. I don't know. Something's telling me that Bobby McCarty has the best race car here late in the going. There's just a feeling. I don't know. Whenever he's raced his way up front like this, he has been one to contend with. And I think Arden's race cars, the momentum they've been building throughout the summer, could come to a head here at Ace Speedway. Into the KRC Power Steering restart zone. A bit of a wiggle for Queen. You could say the same for Bobby McCarty. Not a great start there for that entire inside lane, and Carson Quapple is going to have the momentum down the back straightaway and has a nose and head of Brendan Queen, and indeed he will take the lead with 56 laps to go.
How good is that outside line? Because Mason Diaz in the 24 is going to try to follow suit. He's holding Queen down as Queen gets loose on the bottom of the racetrack, and Diaz tries to move up to second off of turn number 4. He's got the pass made.
Not a great restart, and continuing to fall back as Queen just clears Bobby McCarty getting off of turn number 4. They nearly touch, but out front, Quappo will pull away by a car length. What can Diaz do? And oh, by the way, Landon Huffman on the outside. We talked about how he fell back early. He is back on the surge forward as he is back up into the top 5 nearly on the outside of Ryan Millington.
The next car behind him in that top lane, Jacob Hefner, also looks like he center punched the nose of his Carroll Speed Shop Chevrolet as he works the outside of the 10 car of Caden Honeycutt. Huffman and Hefner, the lone soldiers up on the outside. Here's McCumbee as Huffman may have just scrubbed the wall entering turn 1.
I mean, he almost scrubbed what looks like the crossover gate on the front straightaway, which is not something that you want to make contact with here at Ace Speedway. As he's finally, I think, going to concede that position to Chad McCumbee. He'll slot himself in line, get down in front of Caden Honeycutt. Remember, the 22 and the 10, they made contact last time they were at Ace, and now Honeycutt going to try to be on the prowl once again. He's going to look low into 3 and 4, and will they touch in the same spot they did a couple months ago? Not this time.
Back up towards the front of the pack. Here's Brendan Queen, the early race leader, trying to fend off Bobby McCarty, 3-time pole sitter and former race winner here at Ace. McCarty inside of the 03 in the battle for third off turn 4. And McCarty appears to be on the move, while Brendan Queen has evidently lost some speed in that race car with 50 to go.
Yeah, he looks free, and I saw the black flag given, and it is for that car in Dylan Ward as the hood is popped up. They'll have to put the pins down, but unfortunately going to have to pit under green and lose some valuable time is that number 7 car. We'll follow up on that in a little bit. You can see the line that is formed behind Landon Huffman. This is 7th that number 22 car is hanging on towards. Caden Honeycutt, Jacob Hefner still continuing his march through the field as now Bassett and Trevor Ward, 2 of the locals here at Ace Speedway, duking it out.
That's for the final spot in the top 10 after Ronnie Bassett Jr. came up through the field at Hickory 1 race ago. Did not have the best of qualifying runs tonight either, and it appears as though he is trying to mirror the fortune that he had at Hickory here tonight at Ace. He's 1 spot shy of the 10th place position, while Hefner continues to battle hard with Honeycutt in what is a race for 8th.
Honeycutt, a former race winner here, and it has not gotten any easier for Brendan Queen, who has his hands full trying to hold off Ryan Millington right now. And, you know, the one thing about Ace Speedway, again, this is a track you're taking a lot of brake. If you can think about if your car is free, you're using so much brake that if you're free under braking, there's really nowhere to save it here at Ace. This is a racetrack where if you are off by a little, you are off by a lot. And unfortunately for Queen, just looks a little too free behind the wheel of that number 03 car. As you can see a little bit of damage on Minnie Tyrell's car as Andrew Grady goes on by.
Yeah, add Minnie Tyrell to the list of cars that don't look too happy in terms of the front-end body work. And that list appears to be getting longer as this race continues to roll on. Bassett by Trevor Ward. They're going to work their way around Dylan Ward. The lap car just came off the pit lane after slapping the hood down. In fact, they took the hood off of that race car to get him back out there. However, he's a couple of laps down in the mix of this top 10 battle.
Bassett will go around him. Now let's see the 2 family members side by side here. Again, lap traffic just beneath them. And now Connor Zilish recovering quite well from his spin a little bit earlier on. You can see the damage that's on the nose of his race car. But doing a solid job. He's already back up to 12th. So Carroll Speed Shop, they definitely have a good package here for Ace Speedway.
Got the remarkable drive up through the field for that of Connor Zilish. As you see Honeycutt and Hefner continuing to go at it in this fight, down for what would be currently the 8th position. Bit of a gap between the front nose of the Mike Darn Racing number 10 of Honeycutt and the back bumper of the Nelson Motorsports number 22 of Huffman, which means Hefner is starting to increase the intensity to try to make this pass.
40 laps to go. Again, the gap up front has maintained at about 0.8 of a second between Carson Quapple and Mason Diaz, as you can see them right there. And that gap has stabilized in a way. Carson got way out to a lead early on, and last 3 or 4 laps or so, that's how they've run. That's about the gap as it has been. In fact, as a matter of fact, Mason Diaz nearly 1/10 better than Carson Quapple that last circuit around.
One thing that may be a factor before this race runs out for sure is going to be that of lap traffic. This race very well can stay green to the end as we will get within the 25 to go mark before we see another Volt Battery competition caution. So Quapple may have to navigate his way through some lap cars as we drop back to this fight for 5th.
Elliot, I'm just looking out at this field. How many cars are unscratched? I think Chad McCumbie's won. That may change here in about a second. And Carson Kvapil, that is it. You can see some damage on the splitter for Ryan Millington on the left front. There are so many cars here, Eric, that look like they've been at a race at Martinsville. I know we talk about Ace Speedway being a comparison to Martinsville, and so many cars look like they've been through the ringer so far here tonight.
And that damage to the left front nose of the 15 car may explain the dramatic shift in pace that we saw out of Millington so far tonight. It'll be interesting to see what he says post-race about their performance, but still doing a great job hanging on to 6th spot. Again, 4 straight races that Millington has been outside of the top 10, trying to stop that slide here tonight at a track that he knows like the back of his hand.
Trying to make his way further forward is Landon Huffman, who's just behind and starting to move within a couple of car lengths of Ryan Millington. Looking for his best finish since a 5th place at Hickory back in 2016 and 17 in Cars Tour competition. What it would mean for the Claremont kid to have a solid run tonight. But back up front, 33 laps to go. Carson Kvapil starting to work his way towards some lap traffic here. You can see Chase Burrow in the number 8 up the road, Logan Clark as well. And again, that gap is just continuing to be 8-9 of a second or so between the number 8 of Kvapil and the 24 of Mason Diaz.
And right now, you've got Chase Burrow looking all the way down to the apron on Logan Clark in front of the race leader. This is when Diaz needs to pounce. 30 to go next time through, and Kvapil is having to flirt with the top side of the racetrack to get around the Top Gun Motorsports 8 car as McCumbee has a problem.
Chad McCumbee, who had been running in 6th, we chronicled it a little bit earlier, has a problem and believe he may have a tire going down on that number 16 Aaron's Ford. And oh man, kind of shades of last year here for Chad McCumbee. Started to see a string of bad luck for that number 16 team, and fortunately fell out with a mechanical issue at Caraway. Finished 9th at Hickory Motor Speedway with his throwback that he was running. As a matter of fact, I mean, you talk about the Pro Cup era and honoring that, made 2 starts in the Pro Cup in 2011 at Rockingham and Myrtle Beach. Yeah, you can see damage on the number 16 car as he pulls it down to the inside, 32 laps to go. And we will be slowed by the Volt battery caution for the 3rd time tonight.
And in the position that McCumbee was in, is he's not alone on the pit lane. Chase Burrow was just about to go a lap down, has come in for service. He's at the attention of his crew. For McCumbee, he just passed the pit entry lane, and you saw that as Kvapil was catching the tail end of the lead lap, there were pretty much cars wrapped all the way around this 0.4 of a mile oval. There was no way that McCumbee was going to be able to get back to the pit area safely, so the Volt battery yellow was the right call. McCumbee on the pit lane. Let's check in with James Pike.
You saw how much trouble Chad McCumbee had just getting into his box. He couldn't even get all the way down to where his hauler is a little bit further down pit road, such is the severity of that flat right front. So going to repair it, they're looking at the suspension, just making sure that there's not anything broken or busted or hurt underneath that wheel or behind it, but looks like they're going to put that wheel in, they're going to bolt it back on, put the lug nuts on, and then send Chad away.
Indeed, a flat right front is the worry there for Chad McCumbee, who, unfortunately, Eric, it's one of those deals that if you have an issue like that, you'd rather have it early on in the night rather than right now. You can see some work being done on Dylan Wilson's car as we will step aside here for just a moment here on Flow Racing. GXS Wraps pace car will pull down to the safety of the pit lane. 32 laps to go. Can we see that outside line once again prevail? Into the KRC Power Steering restart zone. The answer this time is no, as Bobby McCarty smoke out of the back of the number 6 car.
Well, you got to hope he's not laying down fluid because everybody else is looking for a way to get by. McCarty, perhaps with damage, now the caution flag will fly. McCarty was running second on the inside lane, and his car has gone up in smoke, and you see everybody trying to dodge what may be some fluid coming out from the back of that number 6 car.
And in a ball of flames out of nowhere, Bobby McCarty restarts in 3rd. And the car ignites on the restart. And as you can see, I think many of the spotters saying, make sure you're not running in whatever he may be laying down. But Bobby McCarty will make the hard left-hand turn onto pit road, and a promising night has gone sideways for the number 6 car.
Way too similar to what we saw at Hickory the first time we went there earlier this year. Here he is on the bottom of Carson Quapla, and just on the loud, as soon as he got back through the gears, she went kablamo. Just like Hickory, though, he was running in the top 5 there, and a hose popped underneath the hood of that car. Everybody was able to get by there as well, but boy, perhaps this is going to jeopardize that strong run that McCarty and the RNS team has been on leading up to this night's race, where he was running in the 3rd spot.
Well, again, this team has been clicking on all cylinders. You talk to Bobby, and he is just so optimistic about what this team has accomplished, how far they're coming, the progress that they're making. You can see the window net is down on Bobby McCarty in his number 6 car, and that is just so tough for that team, looking to make a late season surge and perhaps become a part of this championship battle. And unfortunately, it looks as though it may not be meant to be tonight here at Ace.
After the race at Hickory, went on to finish top 5 here earlier this season. Had a mechanical problem at Wilkesboro, 6th at Langley, the win at Dominion, 5th at Caraway, 5th at Hickory. That team was on a roll. Unfortunately, it appears as though it's going to come to a halt for now. For an update, let's go trackside to James Pike, who's standing by Bobby McCarty's car.
Very simple update from the crew. I came down here to his pit stall before he got to it, and I looked at them, and they looked back at me, and they said one word: transmission.
Well, Blake, it appears coming up through the gears, through that KRC Power Steering restart zone, it just came undone on him.
I have my suspicions. I mean, that's right where, at that point, if you're in 3rd, you would be starting and just about to get into 4th gear, just kind of right past the start-finish line. But unfortunate there, and you can see McCarty climbing out quickly. We'll get him some water, do some debrief with he and his team, and just how unfortunate for him to be in that situation. Again, props to the rest of the field who were trying to scatter and make sure that they weren't running over anything. Of course, the track crew here at Ace Speedway, you can see doing their due diligence to make sure everything was good. But again, that could have been, in all intents and purposes, I know that RNS Race Cars team is feeling it right now. That could have been a lot worse. Somebody in 3rd having a transmission issue with cars lined up and stacked up behind him could have been much, much worse.
And the telltale sign was the number 15 of Brian Millington, who was the next car in line behind that of Bobby McCarty. As soon as they came off the turn 2, he went all the way down nearly to the inside wall to try to make sure he was out from the plume of smoke. Well, in terms of the championship standings, Bobby McCarty came into this race 6th, but was gaining momentum, as was that of Mason Diaz, who currently runs 2nd. But there you see, Blake, the gap between the 2 drivers that started 1st and 2nd in this race, Carson Quapple, Brendan Queen, 18 markers. You mentioned that sole point that Queen gained after Hickory. It looked as though tonight would be an opportunity for him to continue that run, but he's fallen back ever since about 2 restarts ago.
And again, Carson has the ability to build on that. He got 2 points for that pole that he won today. He gets another point for leading a lap. So did Brendan Queen. But as things sit now, Quapple obviously the stronger car at this point. You'd have to imagine that he's hoping to build that lead right now. As
you can see that the cars are being brought down to the pit lane. This is going to be a red flag due to the cleanup of the fluid that is out on the racetrack. So we are going to take a chance to catch our breath. We'll be back here with the remainder of the Solid Rock Carriers Car Store portion of the accelerated GFX.com 240 here on Flow Racing.
See, the cars have come down on pit road with potential fluid out on the racetrack after a transmission issue for Bobby McCarty, who is standing by right now with our very own James Pike.
Bobby, transmission issue. What did you feel from behind the wheel coming back to green on that restart that let go?
Well, the restart before, it didn't go into fourth. Like, restart, just, it sounded like, I want to apologize to everybody for dragging fluid around the racetrack. For bringing such a fast race car. We had a solid top 3 car, I think a little bit better, but, thankful to all our sponsors, Solid Rock, WG Speeds, Pepperjack Kennels, DreamWorks, Caswell Glass, Hogan Group, Bilstein, BST Shocks, just everybody that helped get this car here. I mean, we've been really well the last 2 months here. I mean, we've been a solid top 5 car every weekend, and Lady Luck bit us tonight. It sucks, man, but I'm proud of these guys. They worked long, and this is the bad part in racing where you want to go dream big. Dominion was a good part. This is the bad part. So we'll regroup, move on to the next one.
Just clarify, so it couldn't get into fourth the first time on that restart before, and then it completely went the next time?
Yeah, this when I shit to fourth, it clumped, like it blew all the gears out. So
it's outbreak for Bobby McCarty.
Indeed it is, and you can hear the dejection in his voice, and I think even he made a point right there. Sometimes you want to drink a beer after a race because things go well, and sometimes they don't.
Wasn't it Bobby McCarty during one of Luke Carlisle's social media bits about motorsports dreams and aspirations? And I believe it was Bobby who was the one who said he'd love to have a beer sponsor one day. I think that man knows exactly what he's doing. In all seriousness, what a heartbreaker for he and that car and that race team. It's a year that, if you look at the box scores, we see the cars rolling off the pit lane again. It appears to be a bit of feast or famine. Even when they have problems, there is so much pace to contend for victories, and unfortunately this is going to put them behind the 8 ball. But we've seen them rebound quite well from misfortune. The next race is going to be $30,000 to win at Tri-County Speedway on August 19th. Maybe this is the setback that is setting up for the perfect comeback for that RNS Race Cars organization when they get down to the big money payday a week and a day from tonight.
Well, and I know big money or being able to make big changes is one thing that Bobby McCarty obviously did coming over to RNS Race Cars, and I think that was a good theme for Mason Diaz, hearing from him a little bit earlier in the week after his relationship with Mike Darn had lasted nearly 10 years or so, being able to move to an organization like Chad Bryant Racing. You get to hear new perspectives. You get to work with new people. You get to do some things a little bit differently. And sometimes, when things are going somewhat well, you just need a little bit of a change or so to kind of broaden your horizons or whatnot. And I think that is finally starting to show itself for the number 24 Mason Diaz in a similar situation, a team swap for that number 24. And boy, has he really just been superb these last few races, about the last 2 months or so.
So perhaps unfortunately for Carson Quapple here is that this Volt battery caution came fresh off of our last visit in the KRC Power Steering restart zone. Now Mason has an idea as to what Carson is going to do on this restart. We've seen the outside line not be perfect, not be super strong, but doable in terms of making a pass for the lead. With 32 to go, and us not guaranteed another yellow flag, this may be Mason Diaz's last opportunity to try to get around that 8 car and go back-to-back. This restart could mean everything as far as how this race unfolds.
Well, again, how they're lining up. Imagine Bobby McCarty's in third and you move forward the inside line because we didn't complete a lap. So the rest of the inside line going to move their way up. So Mason Diaz will get one more crack at it on the outside as they approach the KRC Power Steering restart zone. We'll see if he can get a better launch this time. He's going to have a nose to the outside of Carson Quapple. 32 laps to go. Can he maintain it as they work off at turn number 2? It looks like he can, and he is there to the outside of Quapple.
All the while, Brendan Queen trying to fill the void on the bottom side to stay with Quapple as he runs up high off the corner. There's the 8 car, and he has got the lead at the line by less than a car length. Diaz tries to cut down to the bottom and get inside, but he can't make it happen.
And I thought maybe there was going to be a little bit of a touch right there as Trevor Ward was running mere inches off of the wall in turn 2. Quapple able to escape for the race lead. Second to Diaz, third to Queen, who gets benefited a little bit by being able to move up on that restart. Millington has had a late race surge, as well as that driver on the outside in the number 10, who has worked up about 8 spots since the drop of the green flag. Caden Honeycutt looking awfully strong right here, and a big move looking to the inside of Ryan Millington.
Boy, the gloves are off here in the midfield. There are cars doing all sorts of dancing, whether it be slamming on the binders or getting back to the loud pedal in the middle of the corner. And we're also seeing some drivers elect to put all 4 wheels down below the bottom portion of the racetrack, and others electing to just dip the left side wheels on the apron, as Ronnie Bassett Jr. tries to make a move on Trevor Ward, with Landon Huffman further up the road.
This is the battle for 8th, and Trevor Ward hanging on. Ronnie Bassett Jr. as well as a car that surged forward pretty much the entire night, and Jacob Hefner directly behind them. This is third on back between Queen and Millington, Honeycutt, Huffman, and now back to this battle for 8th between these two.
Bassett making a good move there to get up and around Trevor Ward, who quickly dives back to the bottom, not allowing Jacob Hefner to follow him through. Bassett gets a little bit tail happy off the corner. And how about the comeback for that of Connor Zilisch? Blake, you mentioned it earlier. A great return to the top 10 for that number 57 car. That car was overheating so badly, we thought maybe there may be some terminal engine damage to that power plant. Zilisch not only continued on, but he continues to surge further forward in the running order, with Andrew Grady just behind.
Well, he's nearly caught his teammate and Jacob Hefner, who's just up the road. And boy, has he been impressive in so many of the late model stock races and pro late model races that he's run this season. Up front, battle for third. Millington to the inside. Perhaps we'll exchange a door right there with Brendan Butterbean Queen. Millington at the stripe will have third. Honeycutt will try to pounce as well.
Honeycutt jumping to the bottom. This is not good from a championship form, or I should say a championship perspective for the 03 car. Still a great run tonight. He's going to fall to 5th as Honeycutt makes the pass. But Brendan Queen hoping that he could fall in line here and maybe make it to the end in that 5th spot. But don't look now. Landon Huffman is starting to close up, as is Ronnie Bassett Jr. in the 04. That car has been on the move.
Again, looking for his best finish in the Cars Tour is Landon Huffman, qualifying up front, and I think you can see the gears finally starting to click for that number 22 car. But Ronnie Bassett Jr., my goodness, what a late rate surge that Bassett Racing organization has had here at Ace, which, you know, typically it's been the tracks with abrasive surfaces. Florence, Hickory, Southern National Motorsports Park, that seems to be the tracks where that 04 is best at, but he is turning, and that car is solid, and he's going to make his way by Landon Huffman. So Huffman goes back to 6th. It'll be Bassett who takes over that 6th position, rather. Huffman back to 7th.
Right side of your picture, Andrew Grady in the Mike Dawn Racing number 1, having a superb run here tonight. Looking to pick up what would be his 2nd top 10 on the season if he can get around Connor Zilisch, while Zilisch's teammate is starting to pull a little bit of a boot scoot boogie there on the 77 of Trevor Ward underneath the backside of that car as they go down the front stretch. Here comes Hefner.
You can hardly get a little bit closer than that as Hefner trying to make his way by Trevor Ward. It looks like when we talk about clean race cars, that 77 is one of the only clean race cars that's out here on the racetrack right now. There's another one up front in Carson Quapple. He's got about a 2nd lead over Mason Diaz. That has not changed, but Hefner able to make his way by the 77.
All this great racing continues to unfold throughout the racetrack, or throughout the running order, I should say. At the front of the field, it continues to be that of Carson Quapple, nursing a 1-second advantage, while everyone continues to try to root and gouge their way to the best finishing position possible with 15 to go.
And looking at the times, it is still in Quapple's favor as he continues to stretch out his lead. Good racing just behind Trevor Ward. When you mentioned Connor Zilisch, somebody else who's surging up through the field as of late, but you can see the gap right there. Quapple chasing down what would be the lap traffic in Dylan Wilson, about half a straightaway up the road. And back to Mason Diaz, it's about a 2nd or so that he has over that number 24 car.
With the timing of the last caution, with Bobby McCartney's transmission coming undone inside of his number 6 car, I wasn't quite sure that lap traffic would be a factor all the way to the finish. But being that we're coming around at 12 to go, Carson Quapple is on the same straightaway as the tail end of the field, and Mason Diaz has been matching that 8 car in terms of lap times.
He's not only been matching, he's been faster, and visibly so. A 10th, he ate into the lead of Carson Quapple that last time. Queen, though, struggling, trying to hold on for every point that he can to try and tighten up this championship battle towards the end of the season, trying his best to hold off on Ronnie Bassett Jr., looking for his first top 5 in the Cars Tour.
We mentioned Bassett Jr. with veteran crew chief experience on that team in the terms of Shane Wilson. 10 laps to go on your race leader. Bassett trying to crack the top 5. That team has turned it around. There's Brandon Willard offering up the open palms to the field, and Quapple has caught Dylan Wilson and the rest of the tail end of the lead lap. It's going to be a shootout to the finish here at Ace.
That would be his second career top 5 for Ronnie Bassett Jr. if he were able to pass Brendan Queen. He finished 3rd at Florence Motor Speedway. Dylan Wilson, though, out of the way, not going to hurt Carson Quapple on the exit, and I believe he'll do the same for Mason Diaz, who, again, was faster than the number 8 car that last time. Lap traffic not going to hold up Diaz. We'll see a comparison at the stripe once again. Nearly identical, just 6/1000ths of a second separating your top 2.
There's quite the knot of cars up ahead of Carson Quapple in 3 and 4. Some of them having ill-handling race cars. Brandon Pierce, who was on the pit lane, qualified up in the top 10 earlier. He'll be the first car that Carson will have to try to get past. The lead continues to be 9/10ths of a second. Quapple's going to have to navigate this lap traffic to perfection.
Oh, there is a line of 6 cars. Dylan Ward is really loose in front of him. Pierce is going to go low and give Carson Quapple the racing lane. But Quapple's stuck up on the high side as he's not able to get by Ward. We'll see if it's any easier for Mason Diaz to get on by.
Diaz going to get trapped up to the high side of Dylan Ward as well as they come on the main straightaway. This time by 5 to go. The gap down by 1/10 of a second. More tail end of the lead lap traffic, and they're double wide in front of Quapple here. 4 to go at the line. Quapple has caught these 3 cars who are battling for position.
Burrow was looking 3 wide there. They're 2 wide now, and this is going to slow up Carson Quapple. He gets to the inside of Fogelman, but didn't quite have the line that he would have wanted, or at least the amount of space on corner entry I'm sure he would have wanted. Fogelman gets out of the way for Diaz, but both cars will be slowed up on the exit. 3 laps to go for Quapple.
That time Burrow had the real estate. Quapple wanted to get off the corner square as he got off 4. Same thing off turn 2. Here comes Diaz with 2 to go at the line.
Does he have enough time, though? He's eaten into it. It's about half a second now between your top 2. He made up almost 2/10 of a second that last time. Once again, Mason Diaz off the corner. Chase Burrow hanging on his outside, not going to help him at all. They'll come around and they'll see the white flag this time.
Cameron Bolden, the next and perhaps last car that Quapple's got to deal with. Final lap at Ace. Quapple trying to go back-to-back. Diaz trying to close. Half a lap to go.
Carson Quapple looking for his first win since Ace back in the spring. Through turns 3 and 4, he's going to do it. Back to Edelbrock victory lane. Carson Quapple wins the accelerated GFX.com 125 at Ace Speedway. Mason Diaz in second, and looks like Ryan Millington will round out your top 3 as Quapple gave up the lead early in the night, won the pole, and a spectacular performance by a team and a driver that we've come to expect it from, but finally back to winning ways is Carson Quapple.
Even though this is Carson's now 4th win of the season, half of those, of course, coming here at Ace in 2023. We know the successes he's had in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, but those closing laps showed us something which we certainly need to shine a spotlight on. Carson's ability to maintain his composure, being around cars he hadn't seen all night long when it mattered most, with the pay window opening and the most recent winner closing up on him in the latter stages. Carson Quapple displaying yet another characteristic of a star in the making, with him being able to hold on despite the pressures in and around him in those final laps.
And I think that's the 4 that he is holding out the window. I know that I was going to say 4 for 4 victories, but that's the full hand as he's traveling all the way around Ace once again and becomes the first repeat winner at Ace Speedway in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. And I think you mentioned it quite beautifully there. The composure, the level-headedness, despite the fact that, he started the year off, he won 3 of the first 4 races, 3 in a row, as a matter of fact. He never changed his approach. He never changed how he approached these weekends, even when the wins weren't exactly coming. Again, his worst finish this year is 8th back at North Wilkesboro. But Carson is as cool as a cucumber when it comes to how he approaches these races. And he will once again be back in Edelbrock Victory Lane as we will toss it down before Carson Quapple hops out of the car, a winner at Ace Speedway tonight, James.
I think the only thing missing down here in Edelbrock Victory Lane is a broom. Carson Quapple has swept the season here at Ace Speedway. Final preparations before he climbs out of the car and gets ready to celebrate another victory here at the famous 410 Mile. Quick climb out of the car for Carson Quapple. And a wave, and then all the festivities and the liquids and all the things that come with celebration here. But Carson, to sweep at a racetrack here, not just win once, but twice in the same season. Difficult to do, hard to do, has been done a lot in the car store. What does it mean to you to be able to win both of the races here at Ace this season?
Yeah, it's just awesome. We came here earlier in the spring, and we had probably our most dominant performance of the year, or maybe my most dominant performance of driving for these junior guys. So I knew coming back here we'd have a really good car, and we unloaded practice 1, and we were stupid fast. So I knew we had a good car. Just had to, I guess, keep it within reason and not go too far off how we raced it before.
Was there ever any concern, especially in the late race restarts, that you'd have to hold off Diaz, and especially in those final 10, 15 laps? Were you getting any sort of info from the team as to that gap, and were you sort of managing that?
Yeah, for sure. You never want a 2-to-go caution, so I was just hoping that it was going to stay clean and green, and that's what it did. So I just can't thank Brian, Slim, Ernie, Justin, Spotter Brett, just everybody, Dale Jr., Kelly Miller, LW Miller, everybody at the big shop, Bass Pro Shops, and Chevrolet for all they do for me, and just happy to be here.
Does it make it a little bit more satisfying maybe or better for you or whatever your description might be when we consider that you look at some of the drivers that ended up behind the wall and out of the race early, and they were some of your big championship contenders? So coming out of here, growing that points lead, does that make it just a little bit better?
Yeah, for sure. The last few races we've kind of held our points lead or lost 1 or 2 points each race, so it hasn't been too bad, but just kind of waiting for the races of this to start piling back up on us and start stretching that points lead back out like I think we should be. But it was a good group of field of guys today, and there was I think it was 12 cars within 10th in qualifying. So there's so many guys that could win the race. It's awesome.
Carson Quapple, 4th victory of the season here in Edelbrock Victory Lane, and as he celebrates, we're going to make our way down the front stretch to the rest of our podium and see if we can't get a word with our runner-up, Mason Diaz, winner at Hickory a few weeks ago, runner-up here at Ace. The momentum is clearly coming your way. Did you need laps? Did you need time? Did you need pace? What was missing in that final bit to really make it a battle with Carson there?
We just got a little too tight there, but I got to thank all these Chad Bryant Racing crew. It's been a good past 3 races, getting some momentum on our side and running up front, keeping the car one piece and kind of running where we should have been all year. So solid run, just got a little too tight there towards the end. Carson, he was really good, and I think he was playing with us there. He just kind of mimicked what I was doing in the behind him. So, but like I said, solid run for this 24 car. Got to thank Solid Rock Carriers, Design Shop, Prince William Marina, everyone on this team. We're finally showing up.
What does this sort of run of form do for you mentally as a driver?
It feels good to come to the racetrack and run up front. Like I said, we felt like we should have been like this the whole entire year. So just finally claiming them, finishing the races, executing, just need to be a little bit better here.
Mason Diaz, runner-up tonight here at Ace Speedway in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour.
Again, a great effort there for Carson Quapple, and again, Mason Diaz, who I think said it all right there, that he expected this early on in the year, and finally the pieces are starting to fit together for Chad Bryant Racing and that number 24 team, as we will go ahead and catch up with our 3rd place runner tonight, a name very familiar here at Ace Speedway, and Ryan Millington.
Ryan Millington has done a lot and has found a lot of success here at Ace Speedway. Ryan, we talked earlier today. You said that you tweaked a little bit in the rear end of the car and that this was as good of a car as you'd ever had here at Ace Speedway. So, third place, how do you step back and look at this night when you look at it in retrospect?
Yeah, I mean, with the issues we turned out we had the last few races, come back and qualify fifth and run third, or fourth and run third, I can't complain with that a single bit. This is the best turning car I've ever had around here. I think it was probably a little too much. I went free the whole night. So, we got something to build on. Got Tri-County coming up next week. And, we definitely had some speed, but we got a little more work to do to try to catch up with those two because they've been awfully fast the past couple of weeks.
1 week until he and the rest of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour go after $30,000 at Tri-County Motor Speedway. Ryan Millington finishes third tonight at Ace.
And I think that is exactly what is on everybody's mind, especially after the rain out and the fact that it was $30,000 to win. You can rest assured, Eric, that everybody is looking forward to 8 days from now on Flow Racing, the amount of money that's on the line, the amount of prestige. And at this point in the season, I don't want to say I'm happy that it rained out, but I think it's slotted in such a great part of the schedule.
And I have to say, I know that we've been talking about the championship race and all that's going on between the top runners in the standings. Obviously, the throwback race that we just had at Hickory, that's a staple on the calendar. The Old North State Nationals, presented by Grand Atlantic Resorts, as you mentioned, 8 days from now, that's going to be perhaps one of the final opportunities for the whole field to shelf any concern at all about the championship and the points. The only thing that's going to matter next Saturday night is the money. And one of them's getting $30,000. If they cross the finish line first, it's going to be a thriller.
And again, make sure for all of you out there on Flow Racing, that is next Saturday night, August 19th at Tri-County Speedway, Granite Falls, North Carolina, hosting our $30,000 to win Old North State Nationals. We do not want you to miss it. So, for everybody here at Flow Racing, for James Pike down on pit road, and for my broadcast partner, Eric Brennan, I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from Altamaha, North Carolina. Tonight, we bid you farewell and congratulations to Carson Quapple, your winner of the AcceleratedGFX.com 125 at Ace. We'll see you later.